Hi students, I hope you are all doing well. I welcome you to this class, Reproduction in Organisms, the first Neet class, and I have specifically quoted that the concept extension. Students, in these type of classes, I am going to make many classes of this type. I am not going to discuss objective questions, okay? By just listening to my video lectures, you will be able to answer all those questions, objective questions, which are almost a direct kind. And if you go and search in internet, many websites have made a study on the Neet question paper, and they have categorized the questions as of easy kind, moderate kind, and difficult kind. And just being thorough with the topics which have been given in your textbook as a part of the syllabus, and also what we have discussed in our video classes and which we have given in the form of the notes to you, and you having well prepared to answer the theory examination. So you have got certain basic idea and you have got a basic understanding. You have performed very well in your theory examination, and you have crossed 90 plus marks in your 90 plus percentage in your theory examination. It's fine, fantastic. You can answer with the very knowledge what you have for having prepared for the theory examination. Those kind of questions, like a easy and moderate kind of questions, you can answer, no problem. But there are the questions which we consider as a higher order thinking level questions, and the questions which are of a higher moderate kind, where the questions are a bit difficult. So if you want to answer these questions, you have to have a thorough insight into the subject. I do not mean that these higher order thinking level questions are those questions which are framed out of the syllabus, out of the context. It's not that. But you require some deeper insight and a thorough understanding of the subject. And in addition to that, one thing which much matters at the time of answering the Neet examination is that your time will be racing with the time. So when you read the question, you shall have a very quick grasp of what they are telling and what they are asking, either in the form of the questions or in the form of the statements what they have given in the question paper. So a student will gain extra mileage, can have a very quick grasp and can answer the questions swiftly when only he or she has what I said, the deeper insight and thorough understanding of the concept. So here the information which is being given in your NCERT textbook and the pattern of narration what they have made in certain areas requires some additional information. It is not that we are bringing the content or bringing the information, something which is not relevant for the discussion here. So here we are simply extending the discussion, extending the concept. So that will help you to have a easy grasp of the question, a Neet question, and you can understand very fastly and you can find the answers very quickly, and definitely it will help you out. It will support you, facilitate you to answer those questions which we consider as higher order thinking skill questions. So I merely extend the concept and I will make a discussion and give you certain relevant kind of additional information, okay? And then further we can consider the discussion of objective questions. Biology is this kind of subject, okay? This is the way it will help us to be more eminent, more efficient in answering the Neet examination, okay? Okay students, here I am going to discuss and give you some more ideas about the asexual reproduction. To have a quick revision of what we have studied in our theory class, asexual reproduction is a uniparental reproduction. The offsprings born are genetically identical, they are referred as clones. No gamete formation take place, and large number of offsprings or individuals are born by the process of asexual reproduction, okay? So here during the asexual reproduction, gametes are not formed. The body cells will divide, they multiply, and they give rise to a new generation plant or a new generation animal. For example, in Hydra, you have studied that the part of the body of the animal will produce the bud like this. Okay? And this bud is a part of the body cells. So when you consider the organism, the cells present in the body of the organism based upon whether they are participating in the process of sexual reproduction or not, we consider them as a somatic cells, and germinal cells. Okay? So those cells which will take part in the sexual reproduction in a diploid organism, these germinal cells are present in sex organs and they undergo the process of meiosis. Okay? They undergo the process of meiosis, a reductional cell division. And whereas the somatic cells, which makes a part of the body of an animal or a plant, they divide by the process of mitosis. Mitosis, where equal number of chromosomes are distributed to daughter cells, number of cells will increase, cells will undergo differentiation, it results in the formation of the organ and all, and it results in the growth of the animal or a plant. So, in case of asexual reproduction, the part of a plant, a vegetative part of the plant, which is made up of a somatic cells, will give rise to vegetative propagules, right? And here a somatic cells, the part of the body of the animal is extending to form a bud, which will eventually detach and develop into a new individual. So here asexual reproduction is a type of reproduction where somatic cells are involved. Germinal cells or sex cells are not involved. So we call asexual reproduction as a somatogenic reproduction. So asexual reproduction is called as a somatogenic reproduction. Okay, and already I have told you asexual reproduction do not involve the formation of gametes, no gametes. So it is also called as agamo. Okay, here A means opposite. Gamogenesis, formation of gametes. Agamogenesis, gamete formation is not involved. It's a agamogamy or agamogenesis. Asexual reproduction is also referred as agamogenesis as because of gamogenesis or gametegenesis or gamete formation do not take place. Okay? So, if you find the word agamogenesis in one of the option for the question in your Neet examination, it implies that it is a asexual reproduction. Okay? And next, you see during the time of sexual reproduction what happens. Okay? You consider this as a animal N. I am designating this is an animal, it is N. It has got two sets of chromosomes in each and every cell of this animal. So this animal will multiply, it will grow, it will attain the sexual maturity. At the time of the reproduction, what happens? The germinal cells present in the body of the animal will undergo meiosis and produces the sperm or ova. So this sperm and ova, they do have a single set of chromosomes. And then this sperm and ova may fuse together to produce the zygote. The ova is produced by another one animal. The zygote is 2N. And the zygote will develop into the adult, the young one and adult, so that the life cycle continues. So you see, when you consider the life cycle of this animal, the life cycle has got a diploid phase and this is the haploid phase, a diploid and haploid phase. So this is something what we call as alternation of generation, where a diploid individual alternates with haploid phase in the form of the gametes. Okay, so in this case, in case of asexual reproduction, this alternation of generation is not seen. For example, if you consider this to be a diploid plant, okay, this diploid plant will give rise to a projection, a bud, it will fall off and it is another diploid plant. Okay, or if this is a haploid plant, the haploid plant will give rise to a bud, it may fall off and it will develop into a haploid plant. Haploid plant reproduces asexually to give rise to haploid offsprings by the process of mitotic cell division. And if it is a diploid plant or a diploid animal, it will give rise to offsprings through the asexual reproduction which are diploid in nature. There is no alternation of generation. Asexual reproduction do not show alternation of generation, and the type of cell division which is always involved here is mitosis. Okay, mitosis. And the offsprings which are born by the process of asexual reproduction are identical among themselves, and they are similar to their parents, they are identical to their parents, and you have studied they are called as clones. We use the word clones to refer to the offsprings born by the process of asexual reproduction. So as a member of the clone, so 100 clones are there, one individual of the clone is referred by using the term ramette. Ramette is an individual member of the clones. Okay, so this is about additional information for you regarding to the features of asexual reproduction. Okay students, next we are going to discuss type of asexual reproduction in organisms, and you have studied binary fission, multiple fission, budding, spore formation. I have repeated budding again here, let me wipe it off. Okay, binary fission, multiple fission, budding, spore formation and vegetative propagation are the different methods of asexual reproduction seen in organisms. Okay, so now let me consider the asexual reproduction one by one. First let me go to binary fission. Okay students, regarding to binary fission, in your textbook they have given example of amoeba, and you have studied that the amoeba, it's an irregular cell, it will elongate like this. You know the details, it will give rise to two daughter cells, it is immortal. This is the way how binary fission takes place in amoeba. It's an irregular binary fission. Amoeba reproduces asexually by irregular binary fission. Okay, whereas in case of euglena, you know this, I do write a simple diagram of the euglena. It's a flagellated organism. In case of euglena, what happens? In case of euglena, okay, there occurs a longitudinal binary fission, right? The euglena divides like this, it splits longitudinally like this. This becomes one euglena and this becomes another one euglena. So amoeba divides by simple and irregular binary fission, whereas euglena divides by longitudinal binary fission. You have to remember this. And you know the goniolax. Goniolax is again unicellular, acellular organism which is aquatic one, and it's considered as algae, and it is a dinoflagellate. It's having two unequal flagella. Cell shape is somewhat like that. I don't want to go to the details of that, we will study that in another class, right? It is having a flagella. So this divides obliquely like this. It will reproduce asexually by binary fission again, but here it is a oblique binary fission, right? The plane of division is like this. Amoeba, irregular simple binary fission. Euglena, longitudinal binary fission. Goniolax, oblique binary fission. And now in case of paramecium, you know the paramecium, it's also called a slipper animalcule. It is somewhat like this. It's a ciliate, and over the surface of the cells, over the surface of the cell, there is a presence of a cilia like this. Okay, and this divides by transverse binary fission. It's having a macronucleus and micronucleus. Both the nuclei will split like this. Okay, and a contractile vacuole is also formed, and this divides transversely so that two paramecia are produced by the process of a binary fission, right? Let me repeat. Amoeba divides by simple irregular binary fission. Euglena, longitudinal binary fission. Goniolax, dinoflagellate, oblique binary fission, and paramecium, transverse binary fission. Okay. Okay students, now let us go to multiple fission. A multiple fission is a type of asexual reproduction where a single parent gives rise to many daughter individuals at a time. In binary fission, a single parent gives rise to two daughter individuals. Here in multiple fission, a single parent is going to give rise to many daughter individuals at a time. You have studied this as a part of your theory discussion. You see, in case of the amoeba, what happens? During unfavorable situation, I explained that it will withdraw the pseudopodia. And then what happens? A three-layered cyst is produced over the amoeba. We also call this as a encystation. And then first what happens? The nucleus of the amoeba will divide to produce many nuclei like this. And each nuclei will receive a bit of cytoplasm like this, right? And many individuals are formed. And with the return of the favorable condition, what happens? As already I have explained, these smaller individuals will come out and they grow into independent amoebae. And you have studied that these are also called pseudopodiospores. Pseudopodiospores, a process of encystation taking place during unfavorable condition. Wherein amoeba is undergoing multiple fission. During one, nucleus divides first to give rise to many daughter nuclei. Later on, each nucleus receives a bit of cytoplasm, produces a pseudopodiospores, and with the return of the favorable condition, they will come out and give rise to new amoebae. Right? This is also called a encystation, pseudopodiospore formation. And this is taking place by the process of multiple fission. And the multiple fission is also seen in case of a plasmodium. Again, it's a protozoan which causes malaria in the human beings. Okay? A plasmodium and amoeba are the example for multiple fission, right? Okay students, now let us go to the next type of asexual reproduction, that is by the budding. The budding is of two types. One is exogenous budding and another one is endogenous budding. The budding is a type of asexual reproduction where the somatic cells, body cells will multiply and give rise to extension of the body, and later on it will get detached from the parental body and grow into a new individual, right? For example, in case of hydra, I have explained just now, right? So in the middle of the animal, it gives rise to a bud. It is nutritionally dependent. It is absorbing the nourishment from the parent hydra. Later on, it detaches and grow into new hydra. Okay, it is by the division of the somatic cells at the middle point of the hydra, a somatogenic reproduction, right? Whereas in case of the yeast, as you have studied, it is a single cell. It's a single cell like this. At one point, it enlarges. The nuclei splits and the nuclei migrates. It will further enlarge. You have studied that it will split and it will give rise to two daughter cells. Here, the buds which are formed are projecting outside the body of the animal or outside the cell. So, it is an exogenous budding. Whereas in case of endogenous budding, what happens? The buds are formed inside the body of the animal. For example, in case of a sponge, you have studied what happens if you are considering this as the sponge, right? So you consider like this. The details of the cell wall, the details of the layers of the cells present in the body of this sponges and all you are going to study in other class. What happens? Some of these cells which are referred as archaeocytes will come together. What are the cells? Archaeocytes. During unfavorable condition, these are the amoeboid cells, will come together and it will be covered by two protective layers, right? One side there will be an opening and it is plugged and bud is formed. The bud is nothing but a spherical structure which has got the reserve of amoeboid cells, what we call say archaeocytes. And the bud is formed inside the body of the animal. It is an endogenous budding. And we call this as a gemule. We call this as a gemule, and the gemules or the endogenous birds in in poriferans, in sponges, is seen in freshwater sponges. Example for freshwater sponge, Spongilla. It is always seen in freshwater sponges. Example, Spongilla. These are also represented bryozoans. Bryozoan. What is the meaning of the bryozoan? Bryozoans are the freshwater sponges. The example for freshwater sponge is a Spongilla. And this gemule, it is also called a statoblast. Statoblast. Right? So let me confirm that. Okay, gemule, it is also called a statoblast. Yes, I am correct. Gemule or statoblast. Right, now let us go to next, spore formation. Okay students, so asexual reproduction by the process of spore formation take place in Monera protista and in some algae and fungi. Okay, Monera protista, algae and fungi. You know Monera, bacteria, prokaryotic organisms, protista, eukaryotic unicellular organisms, and then algae and fungi. You know that these spores, spore formation, these spores are thin-walled unicellular structures. They are thin-walled unicellular structures. These thin-walled unicellular structures sometimes may possess flagella like this, and when they are having flagella, they can move from place to place, and these flagellated motile thin-walled unicellular structures, the spores, are called zoospores, and these zoospores are motile. Okay, they are motile, and you have studied that as a part of your theory. In case of a Chlamydomonas and Eleutherics, zoospores are formed. Especially in Chlamydomonas, the zoospores are formed inside the cell, whereas a thin-walled unicellular non-motile and non-flagellated spores are also formed, and you have studied Conidia as an example in case of a penicillium fungi. And along with Conidia, these non-motile spores have some more examples like aplanospores, hypnospores, achainates. What are they? Aplanospores, hypnospores, Conidia and achainates are the other examples for non-motile spores. And these spores, unicellular structures, they do have two functions. They are helpful for the dispersal, right? The zoospores, they move, swim in water, they migrate from one place to other place, and so that they help in dispersal of the organism. Whereas the Conidia, they are exogenously formed, they are formed outside the body. You have studied that in case of penicillium. Okay, and you see the Conidia are formed in conidiopore. These individual structures, we call this as a Conidia. Through the breezing wind, what happens? They get dispersed, and they will spread to other parts of the area, and so that these spores do have two functions, dual function, that is for the dispersal of the organism as well for the reproduction. Students, so in types of asexual reproduction, we have discussed about binary fission, multiple fission, budding and spore formation, considering some additional examples for you to support the concept, to give you more idea. Now the vegetative propagation is a type of asexual reproduction in plants, you know that, and I am going to take up some more examples along with the topics, examples which have been discussed in your textbook to give you much deeper insight into the subject. Thank you all for listening to me. I will come back in my next class.